Welcome back to another episode of Tomorrow's Voice. Today we'll be focusing on greed, contentment, and humility. We have a lot to cover this show. I'm not sure if we'll get through all of it.
Inshallah.
Please forgive us if we don't. But if we don't, inshallah, we'll continue it next week, hopefully.
Inshallah.
Actually, the week after, inshallah. Today I'm accompanied by the great presenter. Well, he was presenting last time, Malik. And we were supposed to be we were supposed to be with another brother today, Abdul Rakib. However, he was sleeping, so he could not make it. His sleep took over. His greed for sleep took over, some could say. I think we'll start right with the episode. So if you are watching from YouTube or Facebook, you will see Abdul Rakib's name in the description. Please do ignore it, as he is not here. Just clarifying that for anyone who missed it. So we'll be starting with greed. Greed, I feel like, firstly, we have to see how it comes about, because it can start from a very, very young age. It's not something that, and I see it quite a lot, to be fair. You can even see it in kids. They be running around asking their parents for money, money. Even little babies.
Yeah.
You get what I mean? It's just greed for this world. It's about what you prioritize, what you see as valuable. See, kids, they see money as such a valuable thing because they understand when they have money, they can get sweets, they can get gifts, they can get teddy bears, they can get all these little things. So even from the beginning, even from birth, even from when they, at the ages of 1, 2, 3, even from when they're such a small child, they understand the value of money, monetary money, and the gains that it can bring to them in this world. But I also feel like it's our duty, if anything, as older people and as people that are supposed to be inspiring the youth, we're supposed to be teaching them what to value in their lives. The fact that they value money and they value these worldly things is almost like a reflection of what we've taught them. Because
100%.
it's hard to blame them and just say, look, it's their fault. They grow up in this world and it's 100% their fault. But it's also what we're teaching them. We're teaching them that money has that value. We're teaching them that you should look after that, you should go for that and only that.
Especially in comparison to things of, that actually matter, things of value, things about religion, about the deen, is that when they see us, when it's something to do with money, when it's something to do with worldly things, we hurry to it, right? We don't miss any appointments. We don't do any of that. Everything, we're on point when it comes to dunya. When it comes to deen, our salah is, the adhan is being read, you're just there chilling, playing games and stuff.
Finish your FIFA game for
exactly, right? Maybe another game after that. It just keeps going till you get the next win. I don't know when that will be. Yeah. But when younger youths, when they see you doing this, and this is your reaction to stuff with the deen, immediately in their mind, even though you're not telling them, your actions speak louder. So they just assume, okay, well, they're going to rank that lower than everything else, that you're worried about to do with the dunya. If there's an appointment that you need to make to increase your business or whatever it is, if you hurry towards, they're going to think, okay, that's more important than salah. Because when it came to salah, he didn't hurry like that. So so I think it's very important of the actions that we do.
I think especially, I feel like parents play a huge role in this. So if a child's growing up and they see their dad sitting there on the sofa watching news, for example, and he then hears the adhan and straight away he gets up and he starts praying, the child's going to learn from that. Then the child, even you see it, you see these little Instagram videos, these reels and these shorts of little children, little kids. They don't know what they're praying, they don't know what they're doing, but they're just copying their dad, or they're copying their mum, or they might be even copying their uncle or auntie or wherever it is, but someone who's older than them and someone who they respect, they're copying them. And often you'll even see them teaching the younger brothers and sisters the same thing. So you'll see an older, maybe a 5-year-old and a 1-year-old praying at the same time. And the 5-year-old might be correcting the 1-year-old. And so then even us prioritizing our deen over our dunya and showing that when it comes to time for salah and it comes to the prayer, when we prioritize it ourselves, others will start to follow. And it's the next generations, when they start to follow, you can see them teaching the ones younger than them so much more
100%.
quickly. You'll see the benefits from it so much more quickly.
And when they achieve things of the dunya, try and make it so for example, if they achieve something in the dunya, congratulate them, give them some, glad tidings, give them some, gifts or whatever. But when they do an achievement that's equivalent to that, when it comes to the deen, they finish a surah, they finish memorizing a certain ayah, make it a big deal, right? Make them feel like they actually did something way better than the stuff that they did with the dunya, right?
Yeah,
That's how I think
I got a story behind that. One of my friends was telling me recently, I won't bet any names or anything like that, but he said when I was younger, he was doing hifz when he was younger, and he said one of his key motivations when he was a child was his teacher said to him, when you finish this surah, when you finish this para, you'll get a free pizza.
MashaAllah.
He never got the pizza, but he dedicated time, and even now he's saying, I should have continued, I should have finished hifz and this, that, and he looks back to that time, and he didn't care that he didn't get the pizza. He was more happy that he was memorizing, and that's only encouraged him to memorize. Even if I'm not recommending you promise your children stuff and not deliver, but even if you end up doing that, for example, even if you end up promising them something and they memorize something, and they might be upset in the short term that they didn't get it, but in the long term, at least they'll be grateful and they'll thank you.
If you didn't keep that sentiment, if you didn't keep that promise there, maybe they would have never even got near it, right? They wouldn't have achieved as much as they did with that thing there. So you have to take into account the greater good, what you see
and
fit to be
the reward could not even be like, we're saying that the reward could be a worldly thing, but it could be something else. It could just be, maybe you give them a hug, or maybe you smile at them, or maybe you're more happy with them when they do it or when they carry out that act. Just like if your daughter or your son, when they're a baby, and if they went and did something you asked them, you'd say, oh, good boy, good girl, or something like that. You give them some sort of, like, you're proud of them, and they'll feel happy as well.
So it doesn't go unnoticed, because when they do things about the deen, you ignore it. As soon as they come from school, I did this in school, then you're happy. You're like, they don't care about the deen. What's the point, right? I should prioritize the dunya. And to do with the greed is not good on either side, but we see this especially when it comes to the dunya. Everyone's greedy towards it. When it comes to the deen, the things that actually matter, that have way more value, we should be greedy towards that if we should be greedy about anything. But no, we do the exact opposite. It makes no sense, right? Why are you greedy towards a few crumbs when you can have like a whole bakery? It doesn't make sense.
So even here we've said that. And another thing, I think greed is mainly to do with the obsession. You obsess over it. So everyone has some sort of greed in them, right? Everyone looks towards worldly things and we all crave it, right? But and that's obviously, if you think that you crave something that's worldly, that's not a bad thing, of course. We all strive to get more and more of our worldly blessings, but it becomes a problem when it becomes an obsession. And one of the things that causes that obsession is social media, hugely, because it's all you see. You're literally just scrolling and scrolling, looking at cars, looking at all these mansions, wherever it is, and you're just obsessing. And I feel like that even links to, you should look to people who are below you, not above you. Not in 100%. A sense where you're looking down to them, as in you're saying, oh, that person's worse to me, but it makes you grateful. And that's, hopefully further in the episode, we'll get into how contentment almost destroys greed. When you're content and you're grateful, it's literally the opposite and destroys your greed for this world.
100%. So yeah, I mean, with social media, I mean, we spoke about this before, right? With the adverts and, especially when you see people posting pictures in front of their cars, they're all happy and stuff like that. Now we seek that for some reason. All of us have it in our minds that the aim of this dunya is to be happy. That's not the aim of this dunya. Maybe for non-believers that don't have anything after this, maybe they should be worried, they should be seeking the pleasure. But for us, we have way better things after this. This is nothing. This is just like a little bridge. Why would you're on a journey, you're crossing a bridge. Why would you start building a house on the bridge? It makes no sense. You're there for a few seconds and then you're moving on, right? So we should be worried about the hereafter, right? If anything, we should be greedy towards the hereafter. With all these things, the happiness, whether you have happiness here, alhamdulillah. If you don't have happiness here, alhamdulillah. It's both good for the believer, right? So you shouldn't just seek, happiness is my main motive. If I'm not happy, that's it. Nothing else, Allah doesn't exist. If Allah is so loving, how come I'm sad? How come I'm this? No, all of those are part of life. They're going to come. They're inevitable. Don't be fooled by these, Instagram pictures that, they're all happy. They're only posting the happy. Exactly, right? They're only putting on the smiles to keep the sponsorships and whatever else it is. Exactly. So yeah, don't be fooled by that.
Yeah, that actually reminded me of an example. I can't remember where I heard it. I just remember hearing it a very long time ago. Maybe on YouTube, who knows?
YouTube Shorts, here we go again.
YouTube Shorts. But I was given the example that this world for a believer is almost like, even if you give the person, even if it's a non-believer, right? And you gave the example of a hotel room, right? If you compared this world, this dunya, to a hotel room, now are you going to be a person who goes to a hotel, stays in that hotel room for a couple of days and start decorating the place. Be like, oh, I don't like the shape of that clock. I'm getting a new one. I'm going to go down to IKEA, go get a new clock, go get a new TV, go get a new bed, everything. You're not going to start decorating that place. It's a hotel room. It's so temporary. Why are you going to focus so much on that when you're forgetting that you're literally leaving the hotel room in a couple of days and you're moving into your house?
100%.
What are you going to do when your house isn't furnished?
Exactly.
What are you going to do when the walls aren't built, the foundation's not there? So when you're in that hotel room, instead of just focusing on that hotel room, plan the house. Start building those foundations. Start ringing the contractors to put the bed in place, to put the TV in, to get the furniture in. And then when you get there, do you want to be disappointed that you didn't build your house once you're out the hotel room? Do you want to be disappointed that the house isn't built? Or do you want to stand there happy and proud thinking, I was in the hotel room and I was ringing contractors, I was getting my house ready? I.e. the house is your akhirah, the world after this, your Jannah. You want to be there, you want to be happy. Because you'll be one of those who had that beautiful patience that waited.
Exactly.
That wasn't
Patience
focused
is key.
on the hotel. Because it's all temporary, and if you think focusing on the hotel will lead to happiness, it won't half the time. And we've seen this literally all the time. We see this.
All the time.
Some people are famous, rich, movie stars, and they all, if you ask them, are you happy? Most of them would say they won't. They aren't. Of course, you can be. I'm not saying you can't be.
Yeah, but pretty much all of them, right? When they're on their deathbeds, the last things they would say is that I wish I didn't work so hard towards this thing because now it's of no benefit to me. I have nothing. I should have spent more time with family, should have reconnected with my parents, should have done this. All of the things that they wish to do is never, I should have worked harder. I should have gotten this car instead of this. They never say that because then they realize it's finally clear to them that this is what I should have been prioritizing, but it's too late. You've already lost so many years of your life. There's no point now, right?
Yeah.
So instead of us waiting to get to that point and learn from our mistakes, let's just learn from them. We have so many examples. This is why the Quran uses examples over and over and over again, speaking about the people that, the non-believers that are about to die. And at that time, they just think, now everything is clear, but it's too late. You have no more time.
Yeah. Moving on to another point is that we should see what greed actually does, what it actually means to have greed. So what it means, what are you doing if you're greedy? If you're a greedy person, what are you doing essentially? Essentially, if you're greedy and you're trying to gather the things of this world, what are you sacrificing? One, you're sacrificing your worldly relations. So your relationships with your family, your friends. That's a sacrifice you have to make sometimes. If you're greedy for wealth, money, those are sacrifices that have to be made sometimes, right? The time that you spend with them, because you're sacrificing time at the end of the day. Another sacrifice could be your deen, could be your morals. Because a person of greed, when you typically describe a person that is greedy, that is over obsessed with this world, when you describe that person, it's almost like they've thrown everything out the window and their sole focus and obsession is this world, right?
100%.
So all of a sudden, when it comes to morals, they'll throw that out for the money. When it comes to your deen, when it comes to your Fajr Salah, when it comes to things like this, they'll throw that out for the money.
Exactly.
They'll stay up to 4 a.m., 5 a.m., I don't know, pursuing money, pursuing whatever it is that they want in this material world, whatever it is that they're striving for, whatever it is that they're running towards. They'll stay up to 5, 6 a.m. for that, go to sleep and then miss Fajr.
And you've pretty much, at that point, you've pretty much put like a price tag on yourself because now anybody can buy you. As long as, you hear a certain amount of money, then you're willing to sacrifice anything towards that money.
Sacrifice your sleep, morals,
exactly,
everything.
Anything. And when you said the first point about family relations and the relations with the people around you, your whole worldview changes. Because now when you look at someone, can I get selfish things from this person or not? Is it me? Is it worth it for me to even have any connection with this person? If you're not going to make me any worldly benefit, if you're not going to make me more money, if you're not going to increase my business, I don't want to know you. Whether you're a Muslim, whether you have actual good intentions for me and you wish good for me, that doesn't matter. You're not making me money. Right?
Yeah.
So I think the intentions, even towards people, should be first is that you should love people for the sake of Allah. Not because they give you money, not because they're going to increase your business. No, it should be for the sake of Allah. And once greed is there, it's going to be very, very hard to do that because you're thinking, I'm wasting time here. I could be out there doing so many other things that make me money, but instead, I'm just doing this for what it seems like nothing.
Exactly that. And also, you have to remember, when it comes to things like greed and over-obsession with these things, it's not just that it affects you. It's hugely affected on the people that are dependent on you and the people that looked up to you and the people that are in your, because let's be honest, everyone has interactions with other people in this world. There's not a single person here who doesn't have interactions with other people in this world. Everyone has interactions with other people, other humans. So having greed has an impact on them because they feel like they can't trust you anymore.
100%.
Because they feel like, how can you trust a person who will throw away that relationship that they have with you, who will throw away any compassion for you over something that is worldly? And I know you might be listening and you might, at home, you might be thinking, this is a bit extreme, right? If I chase the dunya, could this really be me? But you'll be surprised at how quickly you can get indulged into the dunya and addicted to it.
Shaitan starts little by little. That's
Exactly.
always his game plan. He may even make it seem Islamic. When he says, be greedy in these things so you can get more and you can give to charity more. Or be greedy in these things so you can give to your family more. It starts off like that. But then when it gets to a certain point, Shaitan is going to leave you alone and you're going to keep doing it yourself. He's not even involved anymore. So at the end of the day, Yawmul Qiyamah, you're going to him, oh, you made me do this. He's going to be like, Allah, I did nothing. I did nothing of the sort. I was away from him. He did all of it on his own. And you can't blame anyone other than yourself. So you need to be very careful. It may seem insignificant, but as long as you recognize it's a wrong thing to be doing, you should avoid it.
Yeah. And one way, again, I remember watching this speech on YouTube once. One way to recognize when shaitan has a hold of you, and it's a practical example that you could use in your own lives, and maybe you've even realized it in your own lives, is when we reach the month of Ramadan. And it's that he gave, the sheikh that was speaking on that day, he gave the example of a fidget spinner. He said shaitan is spinning and spinning and spinning you before Ramadan to get you ready. And then when Ramadan comes, well, he stops spinning, but what happens? The fidget spinner keeps spinning. The sins keep on continuing. Because it's not as simple as that. It's all shaitan's whispering to me every time. He whispers to you so much and you let him in so many times that it becomes part of who you are. He doesn't even need to knock at your door anymore. He just walks straight right in. He doesn't need to ask your permission anymore. He commands you and you do it.
You're just his employee, you're just his slave. You're doing his bidding.
The more and more you listen to him, the more and more power he's going to have over you. And that's why when people see these extreme examples of greed and how they can throw away their morals, for example, and they can throw away their deen over worldly things, you might think that's extreme, but you'll be surprised how quickly it can happen, especially in a world like today where you literally surround yourself with this world. We're literally surrounded by the things of this dunya. When it comes to social media, when it comes to education, when it comes to uni, you're surrounding yourself with just things of this dunya and you're striving for just that.
Even if things sound extreme and you think, I will never get to that stage, ask Allah to avoid you from those things. Because the prophets, right? The prophets, who are the greatest human beings, they were making dua to Allah to let them die as a Muslim. As a prophet, that's like a guarantee you're going to die. But they were asking actively, oh Allah, please don't let us die as, non-believers, no mushrikeen. Please let us die as Muslims. And they told their sons to do the same thing, right? So something so, it's extreme for you to even think of a prophet leaving Islam. It doesn't make any sense. But they still, just because of their humility and the way they feel, and nothing is guaranteed, they're going to Allah and asking, please Allah, make this thing happen. Even though it's extreme and they realize it's extreme, but still they're cautious with it.
Exactly. So if you're sitting at home right now and you're thinking, it's an extreme example and that would never be me, still make dua and still try your best to even stay away from it, because it's the small little steps that lead to the long journey at the end of the day.
May Allah avoid us with greed and all the fitna that comes with it. Ameen.
And also, if you are in that position where, so we said that if you're sitting at home right now and you're thinking, that's too far, that's not me, and that's far from me, then you should say Alhamdulillah if you're thinking like that, and you should recognize that and make dua to Allah that you never end up like that. But if you're sitting at home right now and you have realized yourself that I could be doing that, I could be throwing away time with my family, I could be throwing away time with my friends, I could be throwing away my time with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for this world. If you realize this and you're sitting at home right now, then the first thing you do is you talk to Allah. Ask him for help. That's what's amazing about it. There's literally nothing he can't help us with. You might think, you can even ask him for help. You can say, Ya Rab, Ya Allah, you say, Ya Rab, help me to love you. It's as simple as that. And people often go to other people saying, how do I maintain my faith? How do I stay upon Islam? How do I get close to Allah? Have you tried asking him first? Have you tried asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala first before coming to this person for advice and help? Because you'll see that if you ask for the help of Allah, why wouldn't he answer? Why wouldn't he bring you closer to him? Why wouldn't he make it easy for you to go upon the path of Islam?
I was thinking about this yesterday, the fact that if you want to do a sin and you want to be a person that needs to be punished, you have to go out of your way and sin. It's not like something that's just natural, you can just do it. No, you have to go out of your way and do it. When it comes to good deeds, every single thing that you do that is normal, if you have the right intention, you get rewarded for it.
Exactly,
you could be
yeah.
just breathing. If you have the right intention for breathing, you get reward. So imagine living all your life and you're not aware of this, right? Always have the intention that the things that I'm doing, even though they may be usual, I'm going to school, I'm going to work, saying, Allah, I'm going to school for your sake. I'm getting knowledge for your sake. I want to better your community, right? So always have the right intention, then you can earn rewards doing normal things.
Okay. So just to wrap up before the break, inshallah, what have we learned from this? We have learned that when it comes to matters of greed, you can identify yourself, you can identify where you are, but you should never sit there and think it's too late, because Allah is keeping your heart beating, Allah is keeping you there, Allah is keeping you in this dunya, so you still have time. Raise your hands and talk to Him. Go to Him first before you go to anyone else. Whether it is that you're asking Him to keep you away from greed, or get you away, or that you're in greed and that you'd like to better yourself and get back upon the deen, whatever situation is, you talk to Him. And secondly, your intentions are one of the greatest blessings and the greatest things to keep under control is your intentions. Remember that anything we do in this world, if you do it for the correct intention, you'll be rewarded for it, inshallah. And Allah is the one who blesses us with correct intentions. So ask Him, and again, make dua to Him and raise your hands to Him. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
You're listening to Salam Radio, and it's now time for Maghrib Azan. This Azan is sponsored by Park Foods. Come and see the difference.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم وبارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد اللهم رب هذه الدعوة التامة والصلاة القائمة آت محمدا الوسيلة والفضيلة وابعثه مقاما محمودا الذي وعدته اللهم آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. اللهم بك نحيا وبك نموت وإليك المصير. رضينا بالله ربا وبالإسلام دينا وبمحمد صلى الله عليه وسلم نبيا ورسولا.
Peterborough's community radio station, Salam Radio, 106.2 FM.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحاقة ما الحاقة وما أدراك ما الحاقة. كذبت ثمود وعاد بالقارعة فأما ثمود فأهلكوا بالطاغية وأما عاد فأهلكوا بريح صرصر عاتية سخرها عليهم 7 ليال و8 أيام حسوما فترى القوم فيها صرعى كأنهم أعجاز نخل خاوية فهل ترى لهم من باقية. وجاء فرعون ومن قبله والمؤتفكات بالخاطئة فعصوا رسول ربهم فأخذهم أخذة رابية. إنا لما طغى الماء حملناكم في الجارية لنجعلها لكم تذكرة وتعيها أذن واعية. فإذا نفخ في الصور نفخة واحدة وحملت الأرض والجبال فدكتا دكة واحدة فيومئذ وقعت الواقعة وانشقت السماء فهي يومئذ واهية والملك على أرجائها ويحمل عرش ربك فوقهم يومئذ 8 يومئذ تعرضون لا تخفى منكم خافية. فأما من أوتي كتابه بيمينه فيقول هاؤم اقرءوا كتابيه إني ظننت أني ملاق حسابيه فهو في عيشة راضية في جنة عالية قطوفها دانية كلوا واشربوا هنيئا بما أسلفتم في الأيام الخالية. وأما من أوتي كتابه بشماله فيقول يا ليتني لم أوت كتابيه ولم أدر ما حسابيه يا ليتها كانت القاضية ما أغنى عني ماليه هلك عني سلطانيه خذوه فغلوه ثم الجحيم صلوه ثم في سلسلة ذرعها 70 ذراعا فاسلكوه إنه كان لا يؤمن بالله العظيم ولا يحض على طعام المسكين فليس له اليوم هاهنا حميم ولا طعام إلا من غسلين لا يأكله إلا الخاطئون فلا أقسم بما تبصرون وما
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back to Tomorrow's Voice. Hopefully you all enjoy that break and pray your salah. Talk to your Lord for
Most
a bit at
important.
least. We'll be now going on to contentment. And firstly, I'd like to start with how contentment links to gratefulness. Because when you're content with what you have in this world, and when I say contentment, I mean you're not content to the point of where you don't ever strive for anything, right? When you're content with what you have, right? That doesn't mean you don't strive for anything else in this life. You still carry on striving, you still carry on pushing yourself to achieve the best that you can, because remember that Allah gave you the ability to strive. Allah gave you your limbs, everything, your intelligence, your limbs, everything you have, Allah gave you, right? So not to use it, not to take advantage of what He gave you, not to spread good by using those abilities that He gave you, is almost an injustice to yourself, because you're not reaching your own potential, and you know that. This links heavily to your time management as well, because in order to use this ability that Allah gave you, you have to manage your time correctly.
100%.
You have to know what is good, what is bad. You have to know how to manage your time correctly so that you're only doing good and you're staying away from bad. But again, you have to be grateful to Allah, as in that you're content with what you have.
100%.
You're not at a point where you start questioning Allah and saying, I strived for this long for this job, why didn't I get it? And you start questioning Allah, you start getting angry at Allah. That means you're not content with what you have. Because if you were content with what you have, you'd say Alhamdulillah, even if you didn't get the job. Because why? You know that Allah sees your effort and He appreciates it, and He will reward you for it
100%.
if your intentions are correct, right? But if you don't get the job, you still say Alhamdulillah. Why? And this links to tawakkul, and we spoke about this in the last episode that we were on, that when you have tawakkul and you say Alhamdulillah for the plan of Allah, it's because you know Allah loves you. You know that Allah planned your life perfectly. So if you're praying to Him 5 times a day, if you're worshipping Him, if you're His slave, if you're following Islam, if you're trying your best, then you know that job wasn't good for you if it wasn't planned for you. And you accept that, you accept His plan. So then saying Alhamdulillah, which is gratitude, right? Saying that Alhamdulillah when you don't get the job, is showing that you're grateful to Allah. Why? Because He stopped the job from getting to you because maybe it was bad for you. And you're content with what you have, in the sense that you're not going against Allah, you're not sinning, for example, because you're like, oh, I didn't get this, so now I'm going to sin. Like,
As if that's going to get rid of anything.
Exactly, that's not the reaction that you want, and that's not going to solve anything. If anything, it's going to make it worse for you. It's going to make it harder for you to even be content. Sinning in itself will make you ungrateful, right?
Of course, 100%.
Because it'll take you further from Allah, further from the blessings that He gave you, further from recognizing how much He's really given you. It changes your whole mindset.
The way humans are made, right? If I'm not mistaken, it's the ayah, Inna al-insana khuliqa halua. Is the fact that a human being is never like content. He always wants more. When you give him something, they always want more. They always keep coming back for more.
Exactly.
And the point is, you need to realize that, right? Stop chasing things. You'll never get enough. That will never end. You just keep going over and over and over again, right? And the Prophet ﷺ has already said, the richest person is the one who's content, because he is the one who actually has like broke out the matrix, because he knows I can keep chasing, but I'm never gonna get enough. So the only thing I can do is be content with what I have, and then I don't have to chase anymore. I can break out of that, right?
Exactly.
And this is what we're taught in today's society. Everywhere you look, as you said, and through social media especially, is that, oh, you're not doing enough, you're not good enough until you have this, until you have this material thing, no, that's not what you should be doing. Yes, strive to do good, as Brother Zaina said, right? One of the ways to be grateful to Allah for the things that He's given you is that you use them for the way they were intended to be used, right? Your eyes were given for you to do good, right? To look at good, to learn, to do stuff like that. Your eyes were not made for you to look at haram and do everything that's haram. These things that are facilitated for you to do good, not to do bad. Because all of these things at the end of the day, Yawm al-Qiyamah, they're going to be speaking for themselves, right? Your own limbs individually, they're going to testify and say, Allah, He made me do this. He made me look at this. He made me watch this. He made me listen to this. They're all going to testify against you. So the way to avoid with that is you utilize everything that Allah has given you, all the blessings, in the right way. And you realize at the end of the day, you have to be content. And, you have to stop being greedy, because you have to realize the things that you have, even the body that you're wearing, essentially, is not yours. When you have wealth and you've hoarded it and you give it to other people, you seem to be saying, oh, Allah, you should be thankful that I'm giving my wealth away. It's not yours. It's His anyway. You're just passing it from one person to another. It's not yours to begin with. It was already written, right? In the Qadr Allahul Mahfuz. It's already written there that you're going to give this person his rizq. As I mentioned in Surah Hud as well, that every single living thing already has its rizq written down. Whether you give the charity, whether you don't give the charity, you're not in control of that. Allah has already made plans for them. Whether you give it, actually, if you're the one with the wealth, you need the poor, rather than, the poor needing the rich to feed. No, you need the poor. You're more in need of them, because through them is your Jannah. Without them, what are you going to do? Exactly. So I think it's very important that we feel content. We shouldn't look at other people above us, as we said previously. Look at the people below you and realize what you have, other people don't have, and they would do anything to have, right? It could be something as basic as just you having a beating heart, right? So you should be grateful for that, and you should utilize it and be content
I think
with it.
exactly that. The fact that your heart is beating, the fact that you're still here, is that not enough? Like, are you not going to be, are we here to just sulk and be sad? Or, like, bad things happen to everyone, don't get me wrong. People have bad experiences, people have trauma in their life. A lot of things can happen to a person. However, are we just going to waste our time in, and I'm not saying you can't be sad, I'm not saying you can't be upset sometimes, but for it to take over and for it to affect your ibadah and for it to cause you to be ungrateful to Allah, the fact that you're here in itself, the fact that you're still alive, is something to be grateful for.
Exactly.
The fact that you can even pray to Him.
If you just look at the Quran, like the dwellers of hellfire, they're going to be, oh Allah, please take me back for 1 second. Just 1 second. That's
Exactly.
all I want. Just please take me back. But it's going to be, it's too late. There's no end for you. That's it. You're here now. So we should realize we have way more than 1 second, right? We should utilize that the way that they would have, right? If they got that chance again. So we should be striving to use every single second that we've had.
A big thing that links to greed and contentment is the next life and how much you value it and how much you know about it. There's a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ that a man will be, they gave the example of a man who lived a life of luxury in this world, in this dunya, lived a life of luxury, right? And was just put into Jahannam for even a second. Even just 1 second he was put into Jahannam. And that same man, if you ask him, do you know what luxury is? He'll say, I do not know what luxury is. I've never experienced that. What is that? They won't even be able to recognize luxury. They won't even be able to remember luxury just from 1 second in Jahannam. And it's the same the opposite way around. If you lived a life of misery in this dunya, in this world, and you were just exposed to 1 second in Jannah, and you ask that same man, do you know what misery is? Do you know what pain is? That man would not even recognize what you're talking about. Those words won't even be in his vocabulary.
100%.
Pain, misery, they wouldn't know. And that's, when you understand that and when you internalize that, wallahi, the matters of this world and the barakah and the gains of this world, you'll be content with what you have, and you'll strive for more, but you won't need more. It's not a need as in it won't affect your relationship with Allah whether or not you get more or not. Like one day you might be forced to fast because you might not be able to get food or something like that, but you'll still say Alhamdulillah. Why? Because you're still in this dunya. You can still pray, you can still stand in front of Allah, you can still talk to Him. And those are the biggest blessings. When you realize that Islam is your biggest blessing, when you realize that Jannah is the biggest goal you can go towards, is the biggest thing you can be greedy for. If you want to be greedy for something, be greedy for Jannah.
Exactly. Yeah, just take a step back, watch out everybody else, that you're competing with and being greedy with the worldly things, and just take a step back and realize these people don't know about the hereafter. They're chasing little crumbs. I'm here waiting for the bakery. I don't need to be wrestling with all these little peasants. I'm not in need of those few little things. They're not going to do anything. And I think it's a very good thing. You should always remember the afterlife. Death is something that's inevitable. And you may think, oh, I'm young, I've got a couple of years. You have so many plans in your head, but it could happen any minute. It could be sudden. There could be no prior illnesses. There could be nothing. When your time is up, it's up. In the khutbah in Masjid Khadija, the Imam came from London, and his topic was death, and he was saying that at the end of the day, it doesn't matter where you are. If your name is on the list and Malakul Maut has seen it, he's just waiting for the time. As soon as it's time, he's coming. You won't be to delay it for an hour, or you won't be to advance it for an hour. When it's time, it's time. That's it. And you could be right now at this second. So you should always think that this is my last time I'm going to get to do this. When you pray, this is my last prayer that I'm going to pray. When you give charity, this is the last charity. When you even sin, you should think, if I die right now and I'm resurrected like this, right? If you're chasing after money, you're chasing after worldly things, and you think, okay, I'm chasing after these things, neglecting my salah, neglecting all these things that I should be doing. If I die right now, do I really have a good excuse? And these things that I'm chasing, are they even going to benefit me? Right? You die and you leave everything behind. All your wealth is distributed.
Exactly.
Everything you worked so hard for, it's not even going to benefit you in the least. So what's the point?
Yeah.
Right? You should look at life as a big, like a YouTube video, for example, right? You have the time bar at the bottom, right?
Obsessed with social media. We keep going to examples of YouTube videos, shorts.
But you have no short. I wouldn't know about shorts. So Maybe Abdul Raqib, if he was here, would have been defending it. But I'm saying if you have like a timestamp, right, like a time bar, and you can see everything, this life is like not even a second on that time bar when you take into account the afterlife, right?
It can't even be a second because
It
the
can't.
afterlife infinite.
Exactly.
So you can't compare infinity to a set number.
100%.
It cannot be compared. Even mathematically, it can't be compared.
So if you got one of those videos, 5-second ads, right? After that, you can skip. It's either that you watch the 5 seconds of this ad, right? And then you get pleasure. The rest of the video is just everything you want to see. Or you skip this 5-second ad, and the infinite, time to come is just pain. What the easy thing to do is just watch it's 5 seconds. When you look at it in comparison, the afterlife and this life, you think it's so insignificant. Yet people want this so badly, and it makes no sense, right? Why would you be chasing over £1 when you can get, you can get, what's that? A money making machine itself. You can just create the currency that you want anytime. Exactly. So it doesn't make sense. So you have to look at it in perspective. You have to remember death. You have to remember the afterlife and the purpose of your life.
And when we mention obsession and we talk about why obsessing over worldly things is so bad, is because almost that when you obsess over something, it's like you worship it. It's like it's like a kind of minor form of shirk. It's that you're living for that thing now. That's your whole
100%.
purpose. It's the reason you breathe. It's the reason you walk.
That's a
It's
very,
money,
very
money,
good
money,
point.
or wherever it is. It becomes a form of worship. It becomes a form of shirk, if anything.
In the Quran, it says this very clearly. It says that some people do shirk, and the way they do shirk, the Quran describes this, the love they're supposed to have for Allah, they have it for other things. It could be money, it could be family, it could be anything. If you replace the position of Allah with something else, it could be so innocent. But if you replace that thing with Allah, you're doing shirk. Because that love there, that special thing is only supposed to be for Allah. If you're putting other things in and you're giving priority to the dunya rather than Allah, you're doing shirk, you're worshipping the dunya. So I think that's a very, very good point that you mentioned.
But then if you remember this, that you keep up with what is fard with you, so what Allah has made fard for you, if you keep up with that, and you still give time to worldly gains, you still give time to your job, you still give time to getting more money, to striving in this world, but your intentions are correct, then it's a ibadah for you.
Of course.
Then it's a blessing for you. And that's an amazing thing. We're not saying you can't earn money, we're not saying you can't strive for worldly gains, but do it in the right way. Correct your intentions, know why you're doing it, have a purpose in life, have a purpose that goes beyond that is just in this dunya.
100%.
That money, when you leave that money behind now, and it leaves you at the grave, and when you die, and it stays for your children, then it almost becomes a blessing for your children, and it becomes helpful for your children, and there's barakah in that money as well, because you gained it in halal ways, and your intentions were correct when you were gaining it, when you were getting it, when you were seeking it. And the ways that you look out for that money, the ways that you got that money were in halal ways that pleased Allah.
Even if you're thinking, my way of making money is already halal, right? But if you're doing that over praying your salah, if you're doing that over fasting, if you're doing that over, it becomes haram. Because now something was innocent, something was actually good. You could actually get reward, but now you're getting sin for it because you're neglecting the most obligatory things, the most basic things, the things that Allah loves the most. If you're neglecting them, there's no point, right? There's no point at all. It's like you got a big hole in your roof and you're worried about, there's a little stain on the carpet. Why are you fixing the carpet first? Fix the roof, right? You have way bigger, if the foundation is already broken, there's no point trying to paint the walls and do all these things. It doesn't make sense, right? So you should look at, the priorities that you have. Something that is halal could, be giving you sins. And something that, so you need to be very careful with these things.
Exactly that. We have received a comment. Abdul Rakib,
Here
Salam.
we go.
May Allah bless you both for striving to teach us more about Islam. Ameen.
Ameen.
May Allah bless you as well, inshallah.
Inshallah, give you good sleep, good dreams.
Yes, a good nap. Maybe you can join us next time in teaching Islam.
Inshallah.
Again, what we mentioned before is that contentment destroys greed. So if you find that greed is overtaking your life and it's destroying your life, then destroy it with contentment. Eradicate it with contentment. Eradicate it with gratefulness. Eradicate it with dua. Eradicate it with ibadah. Eradicate it with good things and good intentions. Another thing we'd like to mention is that a heart full of contentment means that it can finally be at peace. Contentment is one of the keys to peace. How are you going to be at peace? How are you going to be finally happy if you're not content with what you have, right? And it's, again, contentment and gratefulness, you can swap these in this statement almost, that if you're not grateful as well, how will you be at peace?
100%.
These things are the essential for Muslim to be at peace, and you have to remember, one of our purposes, one of the things we're striving for is peace. We submit our will to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in order to achieve peace. And if a heart full of contentment and gratefulness is a way for us to achieve peace, then why should we not strive for that as well?
100%. I mean, I don't know if you've seen, but there's like a picture where there's a kid with a cake, but one piece is missing.
Yeah.
And he's ungrateful for that. It's like, why is there a piece missing?
Yeah.
But then there's another kid that just has that one piece, and he's so grateful because at least I have a piece, right? So you should view it that way, even though the other kid has way more than the other kid, but he's not grateful, nor does he see the value of that thing that he has, right? So it's 100%.
Cake as well.
So it's 100% that you need to look at what you have and appreciate it. Be grateful for those things. Don't just think, oh, you know, I need more, I need more, I need more. No, relax. Take a step back. Look at your life and just think, these things, first of all, I'm not taking them anywhere. They're here. They're for the dunya. When I came into the dunya, they were here. When I leave, they're going to be here. They're not going anywhere, right? I can't take them with me. So focus on the things that are important. You have to be content, because if you're not content, then greed comes and it will destroy everything that you have, right? So being content is one of the major things, even in Islam.
I love that example actually, because it shows that even when you receive blessings of this dunya, just because of your mentality, it can affect you in a whole nother way. And I think we've mentioned this through and through this show, that when you have your prayer and when your mentality changes from your prayer, the way you see your life changes. And I think I remember mentioning this even in the first episode, that when you start praying, when you start getting into this routine of praying 5 times a day, your life cannot change at all, right? Even if it doesn't change at all, but your mindset will change. The way you perceive things will change. The way you feel about certain things will change. And it's more of like you become more content naturally. You don't even have to go out and seek it. Just by doing what's farad on you, you become content, you become grateful, and 100%. You become humble, linking 100%. Greatly into the next part of this episode, inshallah. Humility. How, and my first point, subhanAllah, is how prayer makes a person humble. That's by accident. It's actually by accident. I didn't read ahead or anything. But subhanAllah. Again, yeah, praying, you accidentally lead to becoming humble. You don't even have to seek it. It's an accident. You don't have any control in that. It's that when you're worshipping the Lord, when you're bowing down to Him, when you're in sajda, and you're putting your head to the ground, you're putting your head to the dirt, and you're 100%. Saying, I'm weaker than you. I need your help. I don't know what I'm doing.
You will never do that for anything else.
Exactly.
That's the most humble a human being can be. Exactly. With his face on the ground. The face is the most valuable.
And you're glorifying Him when you're doing it as well.
The face is the most, valued thing that you have, and you're always, getting plastic surgery, shaping up the beard, trimming it up, you're doing all these things, right? And then you're
on Nivea men before you leave.
And then you're placing that head that you value so much on the ground, because you realize at the end of the day, I am nothing, right? Even in Salah, when you read Malik Yawmiddin, when you look at the scale of things, when you remind yourself of who Allah is, right? The things that are out there, Rabbil Alameen, He's the Lord of the whole universe, world, all the things that is there, right? The things we know, the things we don't know. There could be billions of we don't know that, right? But just know that we're such a little creation, yet Allah still takes the time, to show His rahmah, to show His wisdom. He still takes the time to show us the way. And as you're saying in the previous point, Islam is not just something that's going to benefit you in the akhirah. Islam is not just something that's going to benefit you in the akhirah. Islam is also for this dunya. As you said, it's going to make you content. It's going to make you feel at peace. That's what everybody's craving for anyway. It's to be at peace with yourself, right? To be content and for you to just be happy.
Yeah, that's exactly one thing I find amazing, is that some people don't even know what they want. So if you ask a person sometimes, what do you want? I want to be happy. That's the first thing they say. I just want to be happy.
Yeah, of course.
But we've been told that this world is not for happiness. We are not going to get permanent happiness in this world. Yeah, you'll get it in Jannah, but you're not going to get it in this world. So if you're craving something that's impossible, then how are you ever going to be content, and how are you ever going to actually be happy? Because you can't. It's impossible, right? You can't be happy 100% of the time, unless you're maybe on medication or something like that. But you can't be happy 100% of the time. So why are you striving for something you can't even reach? But we know that peace is something that you can reach. Peace is something that you can strive for and reach. You can be at peace, and it's within your control, and it's within the control of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make you at peace. Of course, Allah could make you happy if He wanted to all of the time. But we've been told that this dunya is not for happiness.
Exactly.
We're not here to be happy all the time, then otherwise, why would we be striving for Jannah if we're happy here? You get what I mean?
It makes
If
no
we're
sense.
happy here, why are we going to work hard for Jannah? We just stay here. It's really amazing how the people who don't reflect on their lives, the people who are almost going through this world like it's just a blur, like they don't ever reflect on what they're actually striving for. Why are they going to work? They don't know. If you ask them, and they'll give you a worldly thing. They'll say, oh, I'm going to work to get food. Or something like that. They just think about this world and just this world.
Yeah, they say as a sufferer, they say as a bother. They're just here. That's it. It's
Exactly.
just, you know,
You
they
just
have to
drift
wake
through
up.
life and then
they
you
have
go
to
into
do
your grave
this.
and that's it.
Exactly. They're like their whole worldview is just not good. Everything is just so dead, right? So you need to look at the things that you have and be grateful and appreciate these things and you know acknowledge all the blessings that you have.
SubhanAllah. I think we won't be able to finish humility in this episode, but
Alhamdulillah.
inshallah we make the intention of finishing in the near future, inshallah.
Inshallah.
Just to recap over what we have covered in this episode, we started with greed. How greed can be caused by social media, can be caused by even at a young age when you're looking for things in this dunya and you're striving for things of this dunya before you even realize the akhirah and you before you even know what the akhirah is. We have gone over the difference between striving for material things and being obsessed over them, how being obsessed over something could be almost worshipping that thing, almost a form of shirk. The effects on a person's character and how people can trust you with the amount of contentment, and how that can lead to gratitude and how it can lead to peace. Then we touched on humility. Jazakallah khair.